प्रभु नमन शरण प्रभु की आजा रे बारंबार मिले ना ये मानुष जन्म शरण प्रभु की आजा रे
So did you all do any reflection on the reflection points? Any questions? Any part of it was not clear or anything you'd like to say? It's very, very important, this portion. And it should become instinctive to us, not just when we are studying Vedanta, but whenever you hear anything, you automatically do that because that's just the way you are. And when you start functioning like that, you will see, you will yourself see the difference. And hopefully we will all see it too. Wouldn't it be wonderful if everybody in this class did something spectacular? We see Momita and then she has, I don't know what, she has become, what's her name? Rowling. Or like Malti has done something. Bharat has become whatever, men's weightlifting champion, I don't know what. But something, each one of us in this class has achieved something. Something that is of service, something that has done good to people. If you start an industry, isn't that wonderful? Because when you start the industry, all these people who are so desperate, I'm not getting a job, these industries give the job. This Shiv Nadar and all his cronies, they were working, I understand, for DCM first. And they all left DCM. They started a new company. Now everybody is so keen on working for HCL. But these guys went out and did it, right? So service is not just like you going and looking at poor people and what can I do for you. But service is like you move the country forward. You know how many people must have worked at HCL and how many homes must have run because of it. So can we live in this world in such a way that we do such perfect action, that every action we do is beneficial to everybody, in spite of the fact that that's not what we were really trying to do. We were not trying to benefit anyone. But the action itself was so good that benefited everybody. Only one thing. As students of Vedanta, we are only trying to do one thing. What are we trying to do?
Self-development.
To reach enlightenment. That's what we are trying. But when you do it correctly, There's a spectacular expression of it. Things which nobody else would expect happen. And we will see that, hopefully. We will see people in the class doing something wonderful. I mean, I know many people from the class have done many nice things, wonderful things, and it's always very gratifying and satisfying to know that this is actually happening. But there's no end to this. It has to get better and better and better. Now, how? Everybody knows the answer to that. Morning study. But how do you study in the morning? So we studied these various methods by which we can learn to reflect. Now, are they clear to you? Shall we just go over them once? Okay, the first one was questioning. This is the foremost method of thinking, questioning. Questioning doesn't have to just be questioning others. You have to question yourself also. People are so stubborn and they're so stuck in the way they think. Have you seen people like that? They're so stuck in the way they think. Now, when you see that, you have to turn around and ask yourself this question. Am I stuck somewhere? Am I stuck in the way I think? Or could I have done this better? Can I organize my thoughts better? Can I organize things better? Are my values the best that I can think of? Am I really doing the very best I can? So questioning doesn't necessarily mean you're questioning others. Question yourself. I think this, but why do I think? That constant attitude of questioning, you think of something or you hear something and you immediately want to know, you want to understand it more. Okay, so that's your first method. Second method is logical or linear thinking. Nowadays, everybody looks down on logical thinking. It's almost a bad word. Oh, you're so logical, they say, as if it's something bad. If you don't know how to think logically, you're not going to be able to think at all. Logical thinking is step one. If you can't do this, you will be all over the place. So please don't look down on logical thinking, linear thinking. That is why every child has to learn mathematics, has to learn science, because it teaches you to go from point A to point B in some kind of rational manner. And to make sure that when you've gone from point A to point B in the real world, that really happens. You know, and when you learn something in science, you can't just learn theoretically, H2 plus O is water, is H2O, 2H2O. You can't. You have to go there and see that actually happens. Because we have so many theories, but we are sort of detached from results. So theory is, oh, if I do this, then this wonderful thing will happen. And then that wonderful thing doesn't happen. But then we say, oh, we shouldn't be concerned about results. You shouldn't be concerned about results, because if you do the right action, the results will come. If the results didn't come, please check, did you do the right action? Don't say, oh, the results will come, the results will come. How is that possible? Please correct your action. So logical or linear thinking, that means you go logically from point A to point B, like in science, like in mathematics. You must know that. If you figured that much out, then you go to the next step, which is lateral thinking. That means now that you can come up with creative solutions, because you can be locked in linear thinking. You see, as human beings, we all have all these types of thinking. We're born with it, we have it. Now, when you direct this properly, you do something sensible. And if you don't direct it properly, you do something idiotic. For instance, if you know how to think in a linear manner and you direct it properly, then you do math or you do science. If you think in a linear manner and you don't do it properly, then
become literal minded.
You become literal minded. You get stuck in a box. You're not able to solve any problem because you can only see like with blinkers on. Right? So each one. Then second comes lateral thinking. What is literal minded? Please tell Deepraj.
I mean, you just follow it without seeing the bigger picture. For example, why we do rituals. It has a certain meaning. We don't bother to find out the meaning of those rituals, but we just go around doing the rituals. So that would be.
Acha.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you.
Or even most literally, you take anything literally. Your teacher tells you anything. There's a story in the scriptures that that one boy, the young boys would stay with the teachers, and the teacher told him one day that, oh, look, your what is it called? The loincloth is not tied properly. So then he thought, oh, my teacher said this, no? So story goes, he meditated on the loincloth and realized the self. But what it means that he did it properly. But the thing is, you can only see what you are told. You cannot see anything beyond that. You can see the letters, but you don't get the spirit behind it. Or you can hear the lecture, but you don't get the spirit behind it. So you get locked in some rather word-to-word meaning of things. So in Sanskrit, they have it like the three meanings. There is the meaning which is heard, okay? And the meaning which is implied, and the meaning which is the depth of it. So for everything has got three meanings, they say. And so they use it, of course, with Tattvamasi. So they go three meanings. Even in Bhajagovindam, you got that, right? Remember, we studied three meanings. There is the beauty of the words. You read a piece of poetry. There's the beauty of the words. Then there is something that those words mean. I wandered lonely as a cloud. Okay, so one thing is, okay, so somebody was wandering lonely. That floats on high over vales and hills. You understand the English. Then you understand, okay, so he's appreciating nature. So that's why they're called romantic poets, because they appreciate nature and things like that. And then you go to the real meaning, which is that he was doing karma yoga. So everything has got three meanings. So when you go to only the first meaning, it's called being literal minded. Okay, Deepraj.
Yes, understood. Thank you very much.
No, why can't I see you, Deepraj, sir? Why don't you all put on the video so that I can feel like I'm talking to people? Nobody wants to put on today. Okay, thank you, Marti. Right. Now I covered the whole country, right? Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, and of course Mumbai. No, wait. Pravesh, which city are you in?
Ma'am, Ghaziabad.
Oh, you're in Ghaziabad. Oh, I see. Okay, then we've got from east to west. From Assam to Ghaziabad. Komal Kwatra. Are you new, Komal, to this class? I can't hear you. You're muted.
Yes, ma'am. Today only I saw it on the Facebook and I thought, let me. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm new.
okay. Okay, welcome to the class. So in this book, we're doing this book.
Okay, fine.
Where
Yeah.
are you?
I'm in Noida,
Where are you
near
in?
Noida.
Okay. So what we are doing is the methods of reflection.
Right.
Methods of reflection means how do you think? They tell us think about it, but how do you think about it? So we have various methods. First one is learning to question. Second one is learning to think logically in a linear manner, means you're going in a straight line. Next one is going in a lateral way. A lateral way sometimes gives you a unusual solution to a problem. So one thing is I have a problem and I try to do X. And like there is a brick. I use it to build a house. Okay, that's very logical, linear. There is a brick. I use it to as a paperweight. So now this is lateral thinking. I'm doing with it something that was not originally meant for, or anything like that. You can force yourself to think of now, say for instance, there is Israel and Palestine war going on, or Palestine, Hamas and Israel war going on. So one thing is very going up in a logical and linear way, like, okay, what do you want? What do you want? And then try to say, okay, both of you come to the table, let us discuss this, something like that. And then otherwise you can think of some sort of lateral solutions. Why don't we get people, other countries to weigh in on these people and put in pressure, like what maybe Hamas is doing, that it's got Lebanon involved or Hezbollah involved, so to think a little wider than the straight method and see what else can we do, how else can we help the situation, what should we do or not do so that people will be benefited there. So that's called lateral, that you didn't actually go in the straight linear line, but you saw what else can be done around it. So suppose somebody is trying to, you want to sell something to somebody. So one thing is to tell the person, okay, these are all the benefits of this thing that I'm selling to you. Or alternatively, not do that at all. The best salespeople, they don't talk about the product at all. They talk about you. So they'll meet you at a party, they'll talk to you, blah, blah, blah. Before you know it, you bought something. But, because they didn't go directly. They didn't explain to you any virtue of the product itself. Before you know it, you bought something. So this is the lateral way of doing it. You can go in different ways instead of the straight way. Then pratipaksha bhavana. Pratipaksha bhavana means you look at something in a completely different manner. Suppose something attracts you very much, or something bothers you very much. Can you look at it in a different way? Suppose you're very attracted by a Mac that you want to buy. You say, oh, I have to buy this Mac, but you feel, no, I shouldn't buy it. Now your mind is not listening to you. So you try to look at it differently. You say, oh, this Mac is going to do X, Y, and Z work. If you say X, Y, and Z work, and then that other one will also do X, Y, and Z work. But why am I paying double for this? But you think of it very differently. You think of it like something like, I feel today that if I get the Mac, I'll be a very happy person. But 5 days later, will it mean anything to me? 1 year later, what will it mean to me? Just think, the moment I get because I get an iPhone, and then the new iPhone is released, then what is this iPhone to me? So I move space or time, and I look at that same thing very differently. Suppose a boy says, oh, she's so pretty, I love her hair, she's got such beautiful hair. Then he can think to himself, what if I find that hair in my Dal. Beautiful hair doesn't seem beautiful anymore. So you sort of give it a different, you look at it differently. And when you look at it differently, then it loses that hold that it has on you. This is called Pratipaksha Bhavana. We get so lost sometimes in things that we need some power within us to balance the equation so that we don't get lost in it. Then analysis and synthesis are two different ways of doing it. Analysis is you take something and you break it up into its composite parts. And synthesis is you put it together. So suppose you have water, you break it down into hydrogen and oxygen. That's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is you have oxygen and water and you put it together. That is called synthesis. Right? So sometimes you have a problem, so you break it down into its various parts and thereby solve it. Sometimes you have to step back from it and take the overall picture, which is seeing it from a synthetical sort of perspective. Then was generalization and particularization. This you've already studied before, if you remember. Generalization is when you take a few observed samples and then you conclude about all. And particularization is you take the general law and conclude about it. Like suppose there's a doctor, he has the whole knowledge of MBBS. So what does he do when you come? He particularizes that knowledge to you. So whatever knowledge he has to say it to you or in class. If you have a question, okay, in group discussion, we have to be particularized. But what do? We say, never mind what you want to know. I will tell you everything I know. So that doesn't work, right? You say, okay, this question has been asked. I know the general, and now I have to particularize it to you. All right. So generalization means you see a few things. I see a few elephants who have trunks. So I generalize and I say all elephants have trunks. Okay. Or I hear that there is an elephant. Then I know that this elephant will have trunks, will have a trunk. Got it? Between Komal, are you okay? I'm doing a summary. So are you okay? Yeah. And then comes, oops, there's a question. Anybody is new for the first time? Am I going too fast for you? Bharat. Pratipaksha bhavana is needed to avoid being prisoner of the moment. I don't know why only Pratipaksha Bhavana. All of these methods will get the same result, right? Why are you highlighting Pratipaksha Bhavana?
We mentioned last time that you need higher knowledge for maybe tackling bigger problems. So maybe Pratipaksha Bhavana is needed in those scenarios.
No, all of them. It is like you have a quiver of arrows. And all of them can help you to not be carried away. Being prisoner of the moment means being carried away, right? So all these methods can help you in not being carried away, including knowledge of the heart. That is also one. But even linear thinking can help you do that. Even lateral thinking can help you do that. But all of them are meant for this purpose, that you are not carried away by them. But Pratipaksha Bhavana may appear to be stronger because you are feeling a strong urge and then you're sort of negating it at that time. But we are not really talking about that. We're talking about a conscious attempt at reflection, not the hold on for dear life kind of thing, at least in this thing. Okay, Bharat?
Yes. Thank you.
Generalization and induction are different. Yes. Deduction, induction, abduction. yeah, if you use it like that, then generalization will come in deduction. But don't say that, because, you know, different logicians tend to use different words. So just get the base principle. One is, I know a particular, and on the basis of that particular, I'm talking about the general. Okay, like I know 5 kids who are very good at IT. So therefore I say all the kids are very good at IT. Okay, so that is generalization. Or I know one person from Mumbai who cheated me. So I say all Mumbaikars are cheats. Okay, so there's a correct way and the wrong way, like in all of these. There's a correct way and the wrong way. So the right way is when you have done the generalization properly, and the wrong way is when you've done it incorrectly. So if you do it incorrectly, you become a racist, you become prejudiced, you become biased. So that's all we need to understand. Now, names you can use differently. And opposite of generalization is particularization, where you know a general rule. Like what? Give me some general rule. Oh. Give some example, please. How many examples can I keep generating?
Look both ways before crossing the road. But that is...
That's an instruction, yeah. Think of a generalization.
All men are mortal.
All men
For
are-
selfishness causes agitation.
Yes. So correct. So anyone, all men are mortal is the most standard philosophical thing. All men are mortal. So now we know that's a general rule. All men are mortal. If you understand all men are mortal, then you understand that every single person near you you stand a 50% chance of crying over that person's not being there. Every single person. Younger, older, everything. You understood this. So there's a generalization that all men are mortal. As Mahesh very wisely says, all men are mortal. True. And that means the particularization is everyone around me. I stand a 50% chance of crying over them, just as they stand a 50% chance of crying over me. If they cry, that is. So this is always there. So that's called particularization. So you can go from the particular to the general, or from the general to the particular. And if you do it incorrectly, generalizations will become prejudices, bias, racism, becoming racist, casteist, whatever. And particularization is simply wrong diagnosis. Like if you know the doctor doesn't particularize properly to your case, it will be a wrong diagnosis. All right. Komal, you had something?
Yes, ma'am. I'm so sorry.
One second. Deepraj, you're saying something?
Yes. So, with generalization, I mean, even if you do it correctly, there's logic involved in generalization if it's done correctly.
Of course. It's part of logic. When you do it incorrectly, there's no logic in it.
Okay. But if it's done correctly, there's logic.
Yeah, it's a part of logic. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Komal, you didn't have anything?
Yeah. Just, ma'am, I just wanted to say that because today is the first day, I didn't plan it properly. From 7:30, it won't be possible. So maybe tomorrow, I'm just seeing at the schedule. Saturday is 10:30 in the morning tomorrow. So for sure, I'll be regular from next time. So today I may need to leave because I didn't plan it properly. Thank you so much. But it looks a very light and very really I'm liking the group, and I'll surely be attending the classes from next. Thank you so much, everybody. I mean, I need to leave for today only. Thank you so much.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah, Pravesh.
Ma'am, Pratipaksh Bhavna is can be understood like for any adverse situation, we are trying to convince ourselves that what is good for me means what is why this adverse situation is happened. There could be another aspect means like that Pratipaksh Bhavna.
Not
So
necessarily adverse, even good situation.
good situation. We need to actually we are trying to understand the things as per the means we can say that for to make our mind in a calm state or means
Yeah,
like
that's what even Bharat was saying. We are not using it when we're talking about it like this. We're not using it as a, like a brakes on us. We are using it for a morning reflection. Huh? So therefore, we are thinking about it. Normally, you're doing it in the morning, so you are not really worked up about anything. Hopefully, at least, but you're really thinking things through. Like, all these things that attract me, are they really so important in life? And can I do without them? Because suppose you say I don't want a house. What's there in a house? Okay, then you try staying without a house and see what happens. So you have to think it through. You have to understand its placement in everything. You can't say, oh, what is the use of having a house? Then go live without a house and see what happens. So once you understand how everything is placed in life, then the whole scenario becomes clear. There are some people who say, what is there in money? There is no use to earn money. And then some people who do nothing but earn money. But as a Vedantin, you understand the role of money in life. You earn what is required, and you don't make it the fulcrum of your life. But only when you understand this. Otherwise, you're always playing mental games with yourself.
but all these kind of thinking will change our mindset only, not the mindset or not the situation around us. Means
Yes.
whatever we are thinking as per all these thinking will change our mindset or our actions only. But for the situations we are thinking will not change that situation. No?
If your actions will change, your situation will change. Situation is the consequence of your action, no? Okay, see, there was a time where you were interested in what do you teach? Economics.
Ma'am, I actually teach engineering
Engineering. So you teach engineering. So your whole world was engineering students. Okay. Then your mindset changed in some way. You became interested in Vedanta. Now, not only your engineering is still there, but now see your circumstances have changed. Now you know Momita and you know Deepraj and you know Taruna, and you can say, yes, they're all my classmates. Now you know Vedanta students. Your situation changed because your mind changed. Whenever your mind changes, situation changes. The external world is the result of how we are behaving. Suppose I start saying, oh, Pravesh, you're such a horrible person. I don't like you. I keep doing all the time. Then what will you do? You'll say, oh, you're a horrible person. I don't like you. And we'd be fighting. Okay? Now, let us say my mindset changes. And I say, hello, Pravesh. How nice to see you. Then what will you say to me now? 1 or 2 days, you'll say, oh, today you're being sweet. What happened yesterday? But suppose every day I continue to say nice things. Then one day or the other, you will also say something nice. Right? So situation is not something independent of us. It is the consequence of what we do. That a consequence of what we do or have done. So when our actions change, our situation changes. Means, let us say that a lady is there. She is fighting with her mother-in-law. Then her mind changes. And this mother-in-law person stays the same. But the lady's situation will change. Now she's able to deal with the person better, so things are happier for her. Or she may decide this lady is impossible. Nobody in the world can live with her. I have to live separately. Again, our situation will change. So in both cases, it's changed. Now, suppose you go to your college and the students are not studying. And you are very, very upset that they're not studying. But your mindset changes. Then maybe you'll see these movies, they make these movies on these teachers who go to these really bad schools where nobody's studying and they're all very badly behaved, and whatever they do to make this change in you see enough To Serve with Love and so many movies there are. Okay, or you decide, no, Baba, I'm not wasting my time with all these mad people, and you go to another school. But in both cases, it's changed. When the mindset changes, world changes.
Thank you.
Then comes what? First principle. Yesterday, somebody was asking if I read this book, will my life change? A very interesting fellow he is. So he said, will my life change? So no book is going to change your life. Depends on what you do with what you read. If books could change our lives, then how wonderful. So that you're new to the class?
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
So is it okay because you have joined at a fairly late stage? Are you able to
Yeah,
figure
yeah.
out what's going on? If you
I
have a
had
question, go ahead.
I had some appointment. Oh, suddenly I remembered it and came running.
Okay. No problem.
Thank you.
Okay, then comes first principles. What is first principles? That you go back to the most fundamental, incontrovertible truths and work from there. So this guy was trying to tell me, this chap, in this conversation, he says that, so have you read all the Vedas? I said, no, and I have no intention of either. He wanted me to at least say I've read all the Upanishads. No, I have no intention either. And then it's so difficult to figure out. It's so difficult for us to grasp this idea that you get the first principles of anything, and then everything else is just an explanation. You don't really need it. I mean, you can take it to the extent it's needed, but just get down to first principles. It's one of the simplest, easiest ways of understanding something. I mean, assuming we can understand those first principles. Deep Raj, first principles are a subset of axioms. Now, you will have to define how you're using all these terms. First principles should be the same, right? Why? I mean, how are you defining an axiom?
Like axioms are statements that we consider true, like irreducibly true. some of them we can identify, like I don't know, selfishness causes agitation, right? But some of them we cannot like either prove or disprove. We just take them as true. For example, there's an infinite beyond this world. There's a fourth state of consciousness. So
Oh, you don't take it as true. Why would you take that as true? You don't know it.
we don't take that as an axiom.
No, of course not. How can you? That is the X that you're trying to prove. No, you started by saying, let the answer be X. So why are you taking that as established?
No, but if they, we cannot take, so for at least in mathematics, before we take an X from any set, we have to first prove that that set is non-empty. Otherwise, we cannot take X. That's them. So we have to kind of assume that it's a non-empty thing. That X exists. Otherwise, there's no point in taking X. First, you have to establish.
Yeah, but we don't. We are going down to the most fundamental reality. So we are not accepting anything. We know first principle is not even selfishness causes agitation. That's an explanation. First principle is desires cause agitation. That's first principle, irreducible. Now, selfishness is the state of many desires. And therefore it causes agitation. So it's not irreducible. And as for the self, it is what you're going to prove. That is what you have to prove. That the set is not empty is what you have to prove. That there is a reality is what you're proving. So as far as I understand, first principle and the axiom is the same. Because it has to be irreducible and it has to be true to all perception. You can't prove it, but you can use it to get the right result.
Okay, I will think about it. Thank you.
Momita. But we start to confuse belief with knowledge and might base our actions on a mere intellectual understanding of the first principles, and it could lead to wrong decisions. Yes, you have to understand it. That is why you're learning the methods of reflection. Yeah, Taruna?
You said desire causes agitation. So desire includes unselfish desires also, or desires or selfishness are same here?
No, desire is desire. As the desires decrease, unselfishness grows. Or other way around, as desires decrease, selfishness decreases.
So how unselfish desires also cause agitation?
Of course, they cause agitation. But wait, why are you going there now? We are at the moment discussing the types of ways of thinking. This was only given as an example. We can't deep dive into that at the moment. So first principles means you went to a basic, incontrovertible truth. And if you figured that one out, which is always very difficult, figured it out means really understood it, then you don't need any explanation. Then everything else becomes just an explanation. It's like if you understood the laws of motion of Newton, now what else do you want to know? You got that, right? Based on that, he's able to understand everything. But we will require explanation. So at least we must know this is the explanation and this is the principle. At least that much we must be able to figure out. Then is inductions or probability thinking. This is when you cannot say for certain something is going to happen. When you cannot say, you will have to use this method of thinking. You cannot say for certain. For instance, can you say that you are certainly the child of your parents? Unless you do a DNA test, how are you going to know? But through induction thinking, that means you use all the data which you have, you can be almost 100% certain that you are their children. Otherwise, how? I mean, like, why? Why is Vidushi's dad looking after her so well and listening to her, and she's bullying him and saying, you better work for Vedanta? And he, poor thing, he doesn't know what Vedanta is. He has to start working for Vedanta. Now he's doing all this thing. For what is he doing it? Love of child, right? He looked after her all his life and this and that. So much data you have. So you can be almost 100% certain that I am the child of these parents. But you say, do you have proof? No. And that's the whole thing about life. That in most things, certainty is rare. So you have to decide based on a probability. And sometimes that's why people get frozen in decision also. They can't handle a probability. So when you're getting married, Bharat, when you're getting married, you say, I want to know 100% whether this person will be a good wife. You cannot know that. You cannot know how this person will be as a spouse until you actually marry them. Then you will know. In Marathi, there is a saying, Ghar pava bandhun, lagna pava karun. That means build a house and see, get married and see. There is no other way to do this. Schrodinger's spouse, okay. Mahesh Ursekar. First principles in Vedanta are the laws of life. Yes, all the laws of causation as given in Vedanta. Yeah, those are the first principles. Then came passive thinking. Passive thinking is what most people think of as thinking, which is they are doing whatever they are doing and some thought comes to them. That is not the entire thing of reflection. But it is a very important thing, because to be able to, sort of do your reflection and then leave it alone is very important. That's why if you notice, the schedule says, do your reflection, and then what do you do after reflection?
Yoga.
Yoga, correct. You go out and you do yoga, you do your physical exercise, you go and do all of that stuff. Because you have to give it rest if you want the digestion of knowledge to take place. Then parallel thinking. Parallel thinking is like comparison, where you're told something, but what you understand is something else. Now, in India, we use this very well. Very well means very bad. You say, it's amazing what all. Suppose you say, you go to a party and somebody says, did you just come? Now, every Indian understands from that. What do you understand?
Oh, you're so late.
Why are you so late? So what the person is saying is one thing, what you understood is another. We are trained in this by our parents from early childhood, because people in India don't like to say things directly. They won't say, you're an idiot. They will say, are you Brihaspati? Brihaspati means you're such a wise fellow, meaning you're such an idiot. And how I'm always amazed to hear people talk and how they put things in a way that they seem to be saying something entirely different from what they're saying. Like a mother-in-law will tell the daughter-in-law, oh, your jewelry, you look so nice in your jewelry. Meaning what? Otherwise, you don't look nice. But today, because you own jewelry, you're looking nice. Or you're wearing jewelry inappropriately or something. It's just not straight. It's all like Tedi, whatever, Teda way of talking. You give me an example of a Teda way of talking.
Say Eid ka chand, but you mean someone who comes very rarely.
Yes. And all sorts of very strange ways they talk. At all, you have to know that lingo to be able to understand what they are saying. Momita, while reflecting, where do we use lateral and parallel thinking? What is the difference? Lateral thinking is usually that you have some kind of problem statement and you're trying, you think of ways of solving it in unusual ways, like a jugaad, for instance, and things like that. All that is, you're solving it. Parallel thinking is when you're being taught something by saying something else, like Aesop's fables, for instance. And finally, there is instant thinking. Instant thinking is like intuition, where you are so well versed with what you're doing that you get that answer immediately. Okay. How are you people doing? All clear about the various methods of reflection? Please note importantly that all these methods of thinking are just tools which you have for you to apply. When you apply something like parallel thinking, sort of in the wrong way, you become sarcastic or sort of very bitter or something like that. So when you apply lateral thinking in the wrong way, it is, you take something like a fable, an Aesop's fable about fable. Give me some fable of Aesop. The whatever, the wolf. He was crying wolf. Okay, so you take something like that, which is basically saying, tell the truth. When he's telling you, that boy cried wolf, cried wolf, cried wolf. So what is he trying to tell you? He's telling you, tell the truth. But you now apply your own lateral thinking to this, or parallel thinking to this, and then you say, but what will happen if it wasn't a wolf, it was a lion? Will it still apply? Means you do stupid things. You think in foolish manners. You go out of context, basically. Okay, so all of these can be applied in the correct way and can be applied in the incorrect way. So the trick is, because we have this capacity. Now the trick is to use this capacity properly for reflection. All right. Okay, and obviously there's not a comprehensive list. Neither are they entirely unique, each one of them, but it just gives us a glimpse into what it could be. I can't think of anyone anymore, but maybe if you all think of something which is not there in this list, then we can add it to the next edition. Okay? Are you all awake? Are you all asleep? They're looking at all the pictures. I cannot tell. All right. Okay, so continue. While this may not be a comprehensive list, any of these methods can be used to reflect. Usually, the more different methods of thinking one can apply, the richer will be the conclusion. One's perception can be multidimensional. Thus, broadly speaking, there are two ways of thinking, the logical or the freewheeling, the linear or the branching. Either of the two may make a person reasonable. The eureka moment. So reasonable, you can be reasonable either through linear or through branching. But you must know how and where to use these things. The eureka moment. When there has been sufficient reflection, the concept suddenly is understood. It flashes upon that inward eye. All the Shravana and Manana has finally resulted in understanding. One has moved from the letter to the spirit. Now it is not even important to remember what one has heard. Now it is not even important to remember what one has heard. Many people who know their subject very well don't seem to remember the sort of, the actual facts. They can't, they forget it after some time. The comprehension is all entirely new and one's own. The paradigm has shifted. The story may have gone, but the moral remains. Like maybe you read Aesop's fables, you forgot the fable, but you have understood what that was trying to tell you. So through reflection comes clarity. So here is this shapeless amoeba. It goes through the curtain of reflection and comes out as clarity. The pity of it is that sufficient time is not usually spent with ideas. So, though we are getting better and better at the collection of information, at the collection of information stage, the reflection stage is ignored almost wholly. Thus, we have Google but no sages, teachers but no gurus, problems but no solutions. Knowledge is widely available, but our unfortunate circumstances and situations persist. This is a real tragedy. So much knowledge floating around. And what use is it? Can you imagine how much knowledge there must be on this planet Earth? And there are 2 wars going on. Not one, but 2. And both of them have multiple players which can get in at any point and blow the rest of us. I mean, can you imagine so much knowledge, so much we progressed, and we still need to go to war. So much knowledge. And the tragedy is, after all this knowledge, where are the wise people? Just where are the wise people? And nobody wise at all enough to, I mean, there's UN, there's this, there's that. Is there nobody wise enough over there to make things not blow up to this extent? I mean, human beings will fight. It's part of our nature. We'll all fight with each other. If you're married, you'll fight with your spouse. If you're not married, you'll fight with your parents. If you're living alone, then you'll fight with the neighbor. These are human beings. They'll have to fight with somebody or the other. But we can keep it down to not let it become major wars, at least. Not one wise person in these situations that can help the situation, in spite of so much knowledge. Then what is the problem? The problem is that
Too much information, no reflection.
no reflection. Gunjan, don't you think too much knowledge develops ego? Gunjan, are you there? Don't you think too much knowledge develops ego? It's not knowledge, Gunjan, that develops ego. It is information. That's exactly what we're trying to talk of here. That there is no reflection with the knowledge, and therefore the knowledge is not benefiting us.
True, true.
Okay, shall we continue? No, finished. Okay. So the eureka moment is when you finally get it. The most blessed moment. It's okay, Mahesh, we want to start the next thing. It's the most blessed moment where you get anything at all, just any idea, but you finally get it. And then, to the extent you get it, to that extent, life improves. And that is what we have to get to somehow. I don't know how, but somehow we all have to commit ourselves to getting there. We do our karma, we do our bhakti, we do our jnana, and we wait for the grace of the Lord. What else can we do? Okay, so that's it for today. We'll continue next time. Hari Om.
Okay, thank you, Janki ji.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much, Janki.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Janki ji.
Hari Om.